A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on Thursday night. It's a kind of a preview. And of course, we're going to talk about what's happened over the past week. And bang on time. I mean, whoever thought I was going to be late tonight, you're dead wrong. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're all happy with the news that we now have a new head coach. Julian Lopetegui has left the building, and now we start hearing some of the other things that have been happening. I guess we have to say not before time. If you're new to this channel, please do hit that like button because hitting the like button elevates the channel on YouTube. And if you enjoy the content, please become a subscriber and hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. Now, if anybody wants to go to the first Premier League game that Graham Potter will be in charge at the London Stadium, here's your chance to win 2 hospitality tickets for the game against Fulham next Tuesday. All you have to do is go to footballprizes.co.uk and look up the details of this prize. And only 65 tickets available. They're £9.95, but to actually get 2 hospitality tickets for that is pretty good. The competition ends on Friday, the 10th of January at 7:30 p.m. And that's for 2 hospitality tickets for the game on Tuesday night, 14th of January, kickoff at 7:30 against Fulham. The first game in charge that Graham Potter will be at home in the Premier League. So why don't we do a little preview first of the very first game he's got coming up on Friday night? Because, of course, we've got Aston Villa in the FA Cup 3rd round. And myself and 6,000 other fans will be travelling all the way up to a very, very cold Villa ground for the match tomorrow evening. Look, after the madness and excitement of over the past few days, I kind of think that we're thankful now that there's some level of parity and we can focus on what's coming up on the football pitch. No? Had the change of head coach not happened, I think the travel up there would have been one of apprehension. I think we would have sort of gone to Aston Villa wondering what formation, what tactics, what setup Julian Lopetegui would have chosen. However, we're going up there now with maybe a sense of relief, a sense of maybe that under the new leadership of Graham Potter, we might at least be able to give Aston Villa a run for their money. Now, Aston Villa go into this game on a reasonable run of results lately. In the games that they played throughout December and January, they've won 5, they've drawn 1, and they've lost 3. West Ham, on the other hand, have won just 2 of our last 7 games, having lost with 2 heavy defeats, as we all know, to Liverpool and Man City. And we've drawn 2 as well. However, we go into this game with a new hope, I think, in the hope that Graham Potter can get some kind of tune out of the squad that's made available to him. Now, but the form team is definitely Aston Villa at this moment in time. Villa, they go into this game with just one real main injury, and that's John McGinn, who's unavailable. There are doubts whether Jadon Philogene will actually make an appearance or not. Having only bought the player in the summer, it looks as if Aston Villa are now looking to sell him. And with their next game coming up away to Everton in the Premier League, I'm going to talk about Everton in a second. With the next game coming up to Everton in the Premier League, Villa might decide to rest a number of players so that they can be fresh for that game. And to be honest, they don't really have a shortage of players that they can call on. Unai Emery can look at, for example, bringing in Ian Matson, Ross Barkley, Amadou Onana, Emiliano Buendia, all players that haven't necessarily been playing on a regular basis for Aston Villa, but they could use the FA Cup as a sort of a feature for them to remind Unai Emery that they should be starting more games. So Emery's got no shortage of options with his squad. Unlike West Ham, unfortunately, with several players out. Bowen, of course, is injured. We hear that he might be back around mid-February. Let's hope so. Todibo has gone to France to sort out the niggly injury that he can't seem to get over. And although Emerson was seen fleetingly in the training video that was put out today by West Ham, it was mainly only in the gym rather than out on the field. So we don't know if Emerson is going to be back in time for this game or not. However, we've got Lucas Fabianski and Carlos Soler. They both fit for this game. And it'll be interesting to see what Graham Potter does with the goalie situation. After we've heard earlier today that even Alphonse Areola had fallen out with Lopetegui, along with Todibo and Kudus. Now, Areola is described as a quiet, mild-mannered character and one who is very much liked in the squad. So how on earth did someone like Areola manage to fall out, or how on earth did Lopetegui, should I say, manage to fall out with someone like Areola? So what do we expect from an Unai Emery team? Well, we know he has a preference for an attack-minded 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 formation, where his central defensive midfielders have got the physical ability. They're quite physical, should I say, in the centre of the park, able to close down opposition fast and move the ball forward to midfielders. He sets his Villa team up to maintain a high defensive line, but it's when Villa win the ball back and break that they can be devastating with immediate support surrounding their striker, in this case, Ollie Watkins. John Duran is not available. He's suspended. But what about West Ham? What do we expect from a Graham Potter team? Now, I mentioned in the show I did earlier today that Potter prefers to adopt a 3 at the back system with 2 holding midfielders and then a 4 in midfield with a lone striker up top. Now, this might sound a little bit open for some, having 4 attacking midfielders and a striker. But it's the wide players that are quite pivotal in a Graham Potter side. Now, given the injuries that we've got, Potter may opt for. I did talk about, there might be changes of changes to what Aaron Wan-Bissaka might do, maybe Somerville, maybe Bowen when he's back. All our wide players, basically, Emerson, Kudus, etc. And it's after getting details about the tactics that Potter has used in previous sides, especially at Brighton, it could be that Aaron Wan-Bissaka may find himself to be on the right side of a back 3 with Mavropanos and Kilman at the back. Kilman on the left side, Wan-Bissaka on the right side. Now, I think Fabianski will maintain his place in this lineup. Or let me rephrase. He'll come back in to the lineup because I've got a feeling that the new head coach, Potter, is likely to opt for Areola as our goalie in the Premier League. And I'll come to that in a moment and explain that. So for tomorrow's game, I think Wan-Bissaka is likely to be alongside Mavropanos and Kilman in a back 3. Now, you could look at bringing in 2 holding midfielders. Alvarez would be one of them. And maybe, immediately you tend to think that it's going to be Rodriguez alongside him. And then you'll have Kudus back out on the right-hand side, Soler and Paquetá to be those attacking supporters to the striker, and then Somerville on the left. Now, he could go a little bit different, Potter. He may not fancy Rodriguez. We know that the Premier League is not suited to Rodriguez. He may decide that it would be Souček, or he may go a little bit wild card and go for Andy Irving alongside Alvarez. But the basis is we're looking at the possibility of Potter going with a back three, a two holding midfielders, and then a 4 and a 1. Now, I talked about the wide players because they're quite pivotal. What Potter expects his wide players to do is, of course, is to help in the attack when we've got the ball, to form that 4 up front, take the play out wide to allow the likes of Soler and Paquetá to get into space and support Fulkrug. But when we lose the ball, we almost expect those wingers, wide players, to almost drop back, almost like a back 5. Now, there's an issue with that, isn't there? Because many don't believe, well, we've seen with Mohamed Kudus, he doesn't like playing. He doesn't like defending very much. Somerville will try and do his fair share. And I dare say on the left side, if he's asked to drop, he'll do that. What we're hoping for is that Kudus does that as well. So this is the lineup I'm expecting to see against Aston Villa. Whether it be Rodriguez alongside Alvarez, or maybe even Souček, or maybe even Andy Irving. I guess we'll see. But I think he's going to put a strong team out. If you look at the bench, for example, you've got Souček available. You've got Guilherme, who has shown glimpses, hasn't he, of being quite decent. He's got pace at least. And I think we're going to see a few youngsters on the bench as well. We've seen Kalen Casey. We've seen Ollie Scarles, etc. And maybe he might bring in 1 or 2 others as well. Lewis Orford, for example. So I think we're going to see a new formation almost straight away. Well, not almost straight away, definitely straight away in the game against Aston Villa on Friday evening. Now, I hate predicting. I said I'm going to come back to that formation and Kudus and a few others in a minute. So bear with me. Just finish off the preview because I know we're going to have an awful lot more to talk about. I hate predicting this, but I think it's given us a new lease of life. Is it, bounce back ability or whatever you call it, with a new head coach, new manager, etc.? I think what we'll do is we'll probably take this to penalties. And with Martinez apparently missing for Aston Villa in goal, I'm going to just go for West Ham United to nick it on penalties. That's how confident I am. Well, I'm going all the way up there. At least I think we're going to see a decent game against Aston Villa, and it's going to give us a little bit of hope going forward into the future. Now, I talked about what we could do when we've got players back, and this is what the West Ham United team could possibly look like, quite possibly Potter's strongest lineup. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, and Kilman at the back. Now, Todibo can act, and we've seen him kind of do it, can act like a bit of a sweeper behind the likes of Wan-Bissaka and Kilman. Bowen out on the right-hand side, because we know the sort of game that Bowen plays. He will go defensive when needed and drop back. And I think Somerville will do the same. I really do. But if you're worried about Somerville not doing it, you could put someone like Emerson out wide. Not the position that Emerson played the other week when Lopetegui was in charge, when he was playing like, a 3 behind a striker, but more a wide player. These wide players for Potter are quite important. Now, it's quite possible when it comes to the holding midfield, he could again go for something different. And alongside Alvarez, you might well see Carlos Soler playing in that role. I thought about maybe Paquetá going there, but I don't think Paquetá has got the discipline to safeguard the back 3. Whereas I think Soler is a bit more of a disciplined player, and I can see Soler utilising that space, spraying the ball out wide to the front players and so on. And then you can see the massive difference in the centre of attack, and that's bringing Mohamed Kudus into a more central role. And of course, with Kudus and even Paquetá on the other side, they can interchange. Kudus can interchange with Bowen, Paquetá can interchange with Somerville, and allow those players to come in more centrally as well. And I think quite possibly this is probably the strongest lineup that Potter currently when players are back from injury and without bringing any players in through the transfer window, I think quite likely this could be the strongest lineup. Now, we're looking for, players. My understanding is we're definitely looking for a striker. I know there's rumours about Marcus Rashford. I really, really don't think that's going to happen, to be quite honest with you. Dewsbury Hall, I spoke about the other day from Chelsea, could be an option. Maybe we're looking at a central defender as well. But as current squad at this moment in time, I think this is the kind of team that Potter can put out, probably the strongest lineup. Now, when we're in attack, of course, you've got the 5 players in attack, with Soler moving a little bit further forward, allowing Alvarez to be that pivot to sort of try and hold base should we lose the ball. Of course, when we're defending, like I said, the likes of Bowen and Somerville drop to a back 5, almost a wing-back system to protect the 3 central defenders. And it will be much tighter, a much tighter unit to play against. I'm warming to Potter already. I wasn't sure, and I'm still not 100% certain whether he's the right person for us. But given the fact that I've read up today about, you could tell I've been reading about tactics and strategies that Potter adopts. And I was sent a video. Thank you to Dan, who sent me a video about Potter as well. I'm warming to him. He also likes to use academy players and bring them through as well. It's all about, for him, closing down the opposition quickly, being in their faces, keeping possession of the ball, but using it wisely. Could it be, maybe, that we might see a new dawn under Potter? Let's see. Right, let's go into your chat and see what you all think. And a very good evening to you, by the way. Thank you for all for joining. I just need to check on some messages. Let's talk a little bit about the head coach, shall we? I mean, imagine arriving at a training ground at 9 a.m., conducting a light session with the team, go to lunch as usual with the team at around about 2 o'clock, leaving the training ground, having just finding out that you've been sacked at 3:30. No, that's not Julian Lopetegui. That's what happened today to Sean Dyche at Everton. Sean Dyche turned up at the training ground at 9 a.m. He conducted training session with his team. He then had lunch with them at 2 o'clock. And then he left the training ground, having just found out he'd been sacked at 3:30, knowing on the same day that you got an FA Cup game. So it's not just West Ham. I'm not condoning it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning it one bit. It doesn't seem to be West Ham United that are up to shenanigans in the way that, it's not a laughable matter, to be honest with you. But what I've been interested in finding out today is about Lopetegui having fallen out with more players. It's been quite a shock, really. We already heard about the Todibo issue. We heard about the Kudus issue. Now we're hearing about Areola. Apparently there's more to come from Rasheem Thomas from The Athletic, who dropped that bombshell today. So it's quite interesting to see what else we're going to find out over the course. And what's been really strange about Lopetegui is the fact that he talked very much about there being a unison, a harmony, that the squad, it's all in together, etc. How strange that it's turned out to be the way it has. Good evening to you, Foxes. I hope you're well. Feel positive and a bit excited. Good evening, Anthony. I hope you're well. I don't expect to see Potter hitting the ground running. Let's see. Good evening to you, Toha. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, West Ham fan, number 20. Buzzing for tomorrow's game now. I think we all are now, aren't we? Daniela, FA Cup, Cardiff, 3-1. There you go. Everton 1-0 up today, having sacked Sean Dyche. Matt, good evening, mate. I didn't want Potter, but not going to be a muppet and want him to fail. Hope he proves me wrong. Agreed. Dave J, good evening, mate. Bang on time. I could surprise you all sometimes, can't I? Good evening, Daniela. I hope you're well. Duke, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Aaron, Potter out. Good evening, Chris. How are you? It's a bit fresh tonight in Bridlington. It's going to be -7, apparently, up at Aston Villa tomorrow. Don't be late tomorrow. Oh, well, I'm never late. I always say you're going to be. In fact, Wiggy, I'm actually going to leave here at 2:00. So I'm going to be down in Euston for about 2:30. Yes, you heard that here first. 2:30. Graham, how are you? How cold is it in? Tell people how cold is it in Canada, mate? Because everyone's moaning it's going to be -7 here in England. Le shirt is in the chat. There you go. It's already been identified. Bill, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Mark. How are you? Bill, again, I don't expect miracles. Just want some fight to stay in the cup. Matt, unpopular opinion, but hope Moyes does take the job, the Everton job. His type of manager is on its way out and would be good to play against his side and see how the media talks about his football. Well, you know, what's interesting is I think he might well take over that job. Yes, I've got a beer tonight. And you know what he'll do immediately? He'll make them hard to play against. Anthony, Mr. Gilby, how are you? Glad we got Potter. Wanted him before Loppy. The club went for the cheap, but the club went for the cheap option, discussing the way it was done. But we got the right guy in the end. I want Potter to really look. I'm not going to lie to you. I was dubious about Potter. I've kind of said, you know, he's hanging on the shirt tails of what he did in Brighton, and Brighton was all about Bloom's data strategy, etc. But let's see what happens. I want him to prove me wrong. He's brought his some backroom room staff in as well. There's talk about Macaulay. I did a show this morning about Macaulay, but from what I'm finding out, Macaulay, Kyle Macaulay, who has been his head scout at almost every club he's been at, either an analyst or a scout. Chelsea would demand a hefty severance package for West Ham to prize him away from Chelsea. Look, he's been kind of demoted to a chief analyst. He was head of scouting under Potter at Chelsea, but when Potter was sacked, he was moved to become a chief analyst. It's still an important role, but it's kind of a bit of a downward step, I guess. Now, he has been with Potter at every football club that Potter has managed at. And I think quite possibly there'll be talk about Potter, about Macaulay coming in at the end of the season rather than the here and now. And that, of course, is going to mean Tim Steidten bidding his farewells. But we'll see what happens. It's whether, I mean, Potter signed a 2.5-year deal. And if he really does want Macaulay, and people are saying that the Kyle Macaulay is the brains behind a lot of the players that Brighton got in. So let's see what happens there. You know, if West Ham want to progress, and the one thing I've always said about West Ham United, about having managers, is we're always recruiting interim managers. It's for the here and now, get us out of another hole. And Potter has come in that kind of situation. We're kind of in a better place, slightly, than when Moyes came in after Pellegrini and so on. But what I want to see, if Potter has signed a 2.5-year deal, if he turns around in the summer and goes, I want Kyle Macaulay in, he will help us with our transfer strategy, he will get the right players in, etc. Then I want to see West Ham have some ambition and go, no problem, we'll pay the severance package. Macaulay's on a big salary at Chelsea. You know, whether we can afford to pay him the same sort of salary, I don't know. But if the prospect of him coming to work alongside Potter is there, then maybe he might, you know, take a drop in pay, so long as we pay the severance package to Chelsea. Anthony, bringing in Potter doesn't make this team change overnight. Well, it depends on the tactics. I've just talked about those. Tell me what you think. If he changes the formation, puts players in a different position like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, etc., what then? Maybe it could change overnight. Neil, hope it's certainly the word. It is certainly the word. Mine is restored that we can finally move forward, and we can worry about, you know, transfer market, of course. But then when that closes, it's all eyes on what Potter can deliver for West Ham United. Aaron, I hope Harry can work his magic, is what you should have said, Aaron. Funky T, evening, mate. I hope you're well. After seeing Potter's media interview today, I'm feeling quite excited. Makes a change to have a young English manager with a personality and communicates well and speaks good English as well. Now, he's got a psychology degree or something like that. So he's going to understand people. He's going to want to get into the psyche of what makes the players tick. I think that's good. I'm warming to him. And even before a ball has been kicked, I hope he's the right person, not just for this season, but for moving forward into the future as well. Kevin, good evening to you. Villa can't really play kids. Emery has been quoted he wants to win the FA Cup. Like I've said, they've got a good squad. You know, you take one player out, you put another one in, almost as good. I mean, they've got a really good squad, really good depth. Leon, evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Mikey. How are you? Get ready for the mediocre mid-table with this player, with this geezer. Hate to be a doom monger, but it's going to happen. 11th place finish this term. 11th place finish this term, I'll take, to be quite honest with you, Mikey, because we know that it's a bit of a salvage job as well. You know, I'd love to think that we could finish higher, but if we finish 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, even 14th, so long as the football improves, that's the important thing. I want to see the football improving. I want to see a head coach start to have trust in the players that he's got, not falling out with them. And I also want to see a head coach starting to look at the academy. You know, when he talked in his press conference, he talked about the academy as well as, or was it the interview he did? I don't know. He talked about the academy as well as the first team. Neil, never watched Toha. No blood and guts. I don't think Olivia wore anything really revealing. What did Toha? What was Toha talking about? Greece was the word. Okay. Daniela, my Chelsea friend reckons Potter will be very good for us and also said we're in pole position for Evan Ferguson now. Injury prone. I don't even know if I really want Ferguson. I'm certainly not sure about Marcus Rashford as well. Dave, I have a feeling that Potter will be here for the long term. I've no doubt he'll get the players playing again. He'll use the academy and make or save the board a load of cash. Good point. Apache, good evening, mate. How are you? It's concerning that none of our players are Potter trained. Boom, boom. Well done, mate. I think we should steer clear of Ferguson, go for Delap in the summer. I'm inclined to agree. If Ipswich get relegated, there'll be a clamour for Delap, wouldn't there? John, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Happy Hammer, new head coach. New head coach. We are sticking to the head coach setup. Neil, I would love for Ferguson to come, but good. But any club willing to play 60 odd million for him? Well, that's what was quoted before. Maybe they might just look at loaning him out. Look, if it suits the player, doesn't it? It suits Brighton. If Brighton loan him out and he comes good, they can just have him back and then have him play in the Premier League next season for them. Good evening, Paul. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Bill. Kudus was the attacker under Moyes who made the most Premier League tackles. Now, I didn't know that stat, so thank you for that. Peter, Ferguson, 1 in 15 games, is linked with loan to Bournemouth to replace their striker who's just got injured. So they're going to replace an injured striker with an injured striker. 4-1 Villa. I don't know now, you know. Penalties. We're going to get it on. We're going to nick it on penalties. David Moyes, twisted. Good evening. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Leon, would take a chance on Ferguson. He's young, remember. Antonio had major injury issues for a few years, then the medical team helped him. Yeah, I hear that. But I'm not. I maintain. I still want to see a pacey central striker, you know, who's going to work alongside the likes of Somerville, Kudus, have that sort of pace. He is more of an Antonio, which is probably why I don't think I want Ferguson. I'd bring Marshall back from loan. You must have watched my show the other day, Anthony. Colin, the bonus, of course, is that Potter speaks great English. Jack, good evening to you. Seems a decent guy who knows his mind. Absolutely. Matthew, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I think that if Ipswich choose to sell Delap, they'll stick a silly price tag on him. And we all know our record with buying expensive strikers. Aaron, he can speak in parcel tongue. Well done, mate. Anthony, Rashford is off to anywhere but... I know people have started talking about, you know, the Lingard effect again. You know, Rashford coming to West Ham, a bit like Lingard did, resurrecting his career and all that sort of stuff. But he's on 300 grand a week. And that itself would hurt. West Ham United, no way. I mean, Man United would have to pay at least 2/3 of his wages each week for West Ham to even remotely think. Honestly, I actually think Rashford could actually do quite good for it. Maybe it will give him a focus. Maybe he could be that. We know he's got pace. We know he can play centrally. Imagine him playing alongside Kudus, Bowen, Somerville, etc. Yeah, absolutely. But is his head in the right space? But Man United would have to pay at least 2/3 of his salary for us to even remotely consider him coming to West Ham. Stephen, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Huge. I think we're getting carried away. We have been crap all season. Potter has had only one training session. Villa are also on top form. Potter will turn things around, but we'll need time. Totally agree with that as well, to be honest with you. Totally agree. I'm not expecting miracles tomorrow night. What I'm expecting is an improvement. I'm expecting something different. I'm expecting us to be a little more solid, a little bit different. Dodsey, good evening, mate. Will I see you up there? Oh, no doubt I will see you up there tomorrow evening. So let's say hello when you're up there. I did message him. Oh, here we go. Send me the link and I'll come on 15 minutes max. So give me a second and I'll send them the link. So chat amongst yourselves for a minute. Right. Give me a minute. My apologies. This is very unprofessional of me. I know that. But I won't be long. See, you just reminded me there, Dodsey. I asked him earlier on and he came on now and he said, send me the details. So there you go. That. And then StreamYard.com. And then okay. Done. Have sent it. My apologies for that. So he's coming on any moment, Dodsey. Peter, how many academy players has Potter brought through as manager? I don't know, but I'm going to bloody well find out for you. Watches, good evening to you, mate. Jacob. Rashford won't come because we won't pay his wages, and he's not worth that anyway. Colin, I'm feeling more optimistic about our season. Peter, I am too. Broha stretched it off again. Good job we didn't go for him. Good evening, Mr. Brown. How are you? We chatted yesterday. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Grasham. We've been subject to too much negativity that today feels like a reset with a realization that the task ahead is formidable, but hope is rekindled. And today, Mr. Potter has said some moral boosting words. Jack, no friends in business. That was bloody quick, Sean. Bloody hell. Just wait in the background. I'll bring you on in a second. Good evening to you, Ted. I hope you're well. Apache, Sullivan calls the shots at Everton too. Ted again, evening to you as well, mate. Mark, I hear Dyche banned Moyes from the Everton training ground. Do you think Fulkrug will start? Yeah, quite possibly he will start. I think Potter will put out a strong team tomorrow night. Shall we bring him on? Let's bring him on and say hello. He's a bit tanned. He's just come back from Mexico because he's been on his honeymoon. So congratulations to him as well. How are you?
There you go.
Oh, well done. Congratulations. He's got married. Thank you. You'd ask the question, wouldn't you? Who on earth would? But there you go. He's managed to.
Had to go to a different country.
To what? To get married? It's legal over there, but not here.
Well, and not an American as well. That my wife is.
Okay. Well, congratulations. And how are you?
Thank you. I'm good. A little bit jet lagged, but I've been busy since. It was nice of them to wait. The real reason they waited to sack Lopetegui is they were waiting for me to land back into the UK.
There you go. So you could break it first.
So I could break it first, yeah. And I could haul myself out on BBC and TalkSport.
Well, you have been quite a busy man, so I'm honoured that you've come to the lowly West Ham voice after being on the BBC and other channels like that. I'm privileged. Yeah. I'm honoured. So tell us, Sean. I mean, we've kind of known that this was in the offing for quite some time. I want to ask you a question. Actually, is
Cool.
how do you think Potter felt over all this, seeing it all unravel in the public eye, when one of his fellow managers, head coaches, is under that kind of scrutiny for the last month? Do you think he cared?
No, I think when people are look what happened to Ten Hag. It was very similar, played out in the media. What is happening? Have you seen? I think I sent to you. Have you seen
I
what's
read it out
happened to
earlier about Deitch. Yeah.
Deitch? I mean, that is even worse. But they're paid £4 or £5 million. They're paid millions of pounds. They get millions of pounds paid. He goes for the job. There are no secrets anymore. It's played out in the media. And what we go, it's not right. Well, a few £1 million in the bank balance sort of it forgives a lot, right? They're hard skin. No one wants to be sacked, but it's part of the job. I forget what the stat is of the how long a Premier League manager on average stays in post. It's not that long. Most of them don't finish their contracts, so it shouldn't be a surprise. And do you know what? Wouldn't you like to do a job? So they go, yeah, well, it hasn't worked out, but here's a load of money anyway, and
Well,
you can go and get
it's
another
one
job.
of the few jobs, either when you work, for a big company like, I don't know, Thames Water or something, or if you're a Premier League manager, when you do shit, you
Thames
still get a
Water.
big payoff.
Thames Water are bankrupt. That's a really bad
Well, they're still
analogy,
getting their bonuses, but let's not go
I'm
there.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
But okay, so he didn't care. But this all started to unravel. I mean, this has been in the pipeline since the Leicester game, hasn't it? If not earlier than that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Brady has been pushing. If you don't know, and I'm sure you do, Brady um, managed and not managed, but from a point of view, she was managing director of Birmingham City when Graham Potter was there. Her husband, Paul Pescalado, no, Pesca, whatever.
Pesky
Um,
Solido. Pesky
Pesca
Solido.
Solid, Salido, that's the one. Was in the same squad. They've remained friends. Them, I think, maybe and Potter's wife, is it Kylie or something like that? I've had the odd dinner, so they're friends, and she pushed it hard. And when they started looking for a replacement, they knew the writing was on the wall. They really hoped, they're not sackers. They really hoped it would work with Lopetegui. But I think I said a long time ago, the end of the year was the time they need to review. And I must admit, I expected it to come after the Liverpool game or the City game. And I think, his father dying had a small effect on the timing of it. They didn't want to be too heartless. But January was the right time to make a decision. And, people argue, well, why did it come so late? I think they didn't have anyone to take the training because they got rid of everyone else. Mark Noble wasn't available. My understanding is, there's been a death in the family. And obviously all the other coaches were sacked. Yes, Kevin Keane or someone else could take, but he's professional. He knew what was happening when he got there. He took the training. He had lunch with the team, and players leaving back 3 o'clock, and he was sacked on the dot as soon as the players left. And the announcement came out at 1:15. Sean Dyche, I didn't tell you this, but Sean Dyche is in Everton. They didn't even thank him. You know, um, I I don't think he's got too much to complain about. I think his people are trying to blame Tim Steid, and you haven't heard the last of this. You heard his mate. I
Gillian
always forget
Balaghi.
his. Yeah,
Yeah.
you heard his. I mean, he's annoyed fans. He was on before me on BBC Radio 5 yesterday, and he went, well, West Ham's only been in Europe 1 year out of the last 11. So, I mean, he obviously doesn't know anything about West Ham. We've been in three, mate. We're just trying to wind us up, It's his mate. It hasn't worked out. I've got no bad feelings about Lopetegui. I just didn't work out. Graham Potter, interestingly, my sources at the club 6 months ago and I've repeated this on radio, say that the manager had been flattered by Tony Bloom's recruitment formula, which he
And
keeps
I've said
very,
that too as well, to be honest with you,
yeah,
Sean. Yeah.
and Dan Ashworth and the other guy that's in recruitment, and they gave him a team. All right, he's still got to coach them. It didn't work out at Chelsea. Now Chelsea people will go. Some of them will say we didn't get a chance, and some of them say he's not very good. I couldn't tell you what he did at Swansea. I couldn't tell you what he did in Sweden. But he's our manager now. The king is dead. Long live the king. I hope it works out for him. I spoke to my senior source this morning because I was asking him about clauses, which he've said is confidential. But he says, I hope Graham's here for the next 5 to 10 years. So, I mean, that's the spirit, isn't it? So we all do.
Say that again.
He hopes Graham Potter is here for the next 5 to 10 years.
So finally, we might get a manager. This is the one thing, the one gripe I've had, Sean, is that we keep getting managers, head coaches who are a sticking plaster. Oh, sort out our problem now. We'll see what happens later. And now you're telling me that they're hoping that Potter's here for the long term, which can only be a good thing, because if he does well, if he does well,
but you know, that's him as well. And I just hope. I know he said some words. You know, he was really excited and everything. And Simon Jordan put his, had his view of it. But you know, let's be honest. If a big six club comes in, he'll want to be off. So,
but Sean, here's the thing. I know you've said that before, but here's the thing. If Potter gets us to a position where we're challenging top half of the table on a regular basis and improves us, and if he brings his own entourage, I know we've spoken about, offline about Carl McCauley, and you've given me, I've just said to the audience,
I don't think he can. Yeah.
But he might do. I mean, if he's here for the long term,
I think I'll say it openly, and as you said it already, he's on a big wage at Chelsea.
Big wage, yeah.
And the compensation is big. Sullivan doesn't pay compensation, so it ain't going to happen.
What if we do reasonably well by the end of this season? Potter and Sullivan sit down and go, yeah, this is good. I like it. Potter goes, look, it'll be even better if you bring me Carl McCauley. And Sullivan goes,
that's fine, but he needs to sack Tim Steiden. I don't think Tim's for this world very long.
Well, this is it. I
very
mean,
telling. He was not in any pictures. He was not in any videos. My understanding is that Tim Steiden did show Graham Potter around the training ground this afternoon and then shot off about 4:00. But he was the one introducing Potter to the staff. But isn't it interesting? He's not in any pictures. He's not in any videos. They deliberately kept him out of the media shots. Right. And I was told, although he was involved in the final interview, which included Karen Brady, Jack Sullivan, David Sullivan Jr., David Sullivan, Daniel Kredinsky, the Gold family, Karen Brady, it was a big, everyone was involved in that. And in Tim Steiden, he wasn't involved in the last sort of 48 hours in the negotiations. He was cut out.
Therefore, Sean, I mean, the question
Aaron Brady got it over the line, basically.
So therefore, the question asked by Matt, is Tim going in this window or is he going in the summer?
No, I think so. Be careful what I say. I think there is a hope that he will walk before the summer.
Okay. So let me put it back to you again. One way or another, if Steiden goes, and Potter turns around and says, I need a head of scouting, I need a technical director, whatever you want to call him, I want Carl McCauley, let's really do this as a proper project. Surely, even if there's compensation to be paid, if we're talking,
is he good don't we want Dan Ashworth? You say
Dan Ashworth. You see, it's the three work together. Dan Ashworth was the sporting director, and McCauley was the head of scouting, and then it was head coach.
I know, but I don't know how good this Carl is. Is Dan Ashworth the one? I mean, I don't know where the talent
Carl
is. It depends
McCauley,
how he's.
I'll send you details. I'll tell you now.
So
Carl
why did
McCauley
Chelsea
is
move
a
him from the head of
very, very
scouting
good.
to chief analyst? It makes no sense if he's that
It,
good.
it it makes no sense, but he is the one that has helped to identify some of the best players. Moses Caicedo,
Is he though?
Cucurella, who both went to Brighton and then went with him to Chelsea.
Don't
You know,
don't believe what you watch on YouTube though, still, mate.
no, no,
And
no, no. I do, Sean. You know, I do my research. You know, I do. I read up on it. I don't just listen to what someone else has said and go. Apart from you, of course, when you tell me black is white, and I have to think, no, it ain't.
mm,
No, he is a good head of scouting. He's a very good head of scouting.
okay, I'll take your word for it. But he's not a sporting director, is my point.
No, but so therefore, are you suggesting then that if we don't get Carl McCauley, that Lopetegui, that Potter is going to turn around and say, "Get me Dan Ashworth."
That's what I've been pushing for the last 72 hours. Yes, I'm saying exactly that, Stelios.
But if we can't afford McCauley, there's no way we can afford Ashworth.
He's available. He's there's no compensation, and he's a different class. If you haven't got Tim Steiner and you move the salary over without compensation, I think he's a higher caliber. You know how much he was at Brighton. Didn't Newcastle pay compensation to bring him from Brighton?
Newcastle
And
took compensation and put him on gardening leave for 5 months before he went to Man U. Yeah.
yeah, but didn't Newcastle have to pay Brighton
Oh, I'm
money as
sorry.
well?
That I don't know. I don't think they. I'm not sure that they did.
No.
You
Well,
you
I,
might
I
be right.
know
I'm not sure.
I know they Man United had to pay quite a lot of money to get him from Newcastle.
Yeah, yeah. So what you're telling me, Sean, is that you have an instinct that Dan Ashworth is coming to West Ham United the minute
I
Tim
think it's a
Stein leaves.
possibility.
Right. Okay.
I'm not saying that's as a given. I just think that Tim Stein's not long for this world at West Ham.
Yeah, and that I agree with. There's a lot of people that suggest that Stein's been hard done by, and trying to remind us all, how good he's been. But
You
again,
got
if you do that,
you got 3 more minutes, by the way.
okay.
I only
Well, I was
I only
saying,
you
if you
know
do
when
the,
I do BBC, Sky and Talksport,
they cut
I
you off
only
rather
give my
than you
time in
cutting me
50
off.
minutes. Yeah. What do I say
Okay,
when we
give us
talk on the phone? What do I say usually
a
when we're
one-word
talking?
answer.
No, no,
One-word
when we're
answer
talking on the
usually.
phone on the way home from work, what do I say to you when I get home?
Well, you're
I'm
busy.
bored
I know.
now. I know.
Oh,
I
you're
say, I
bored.
go. I'm bored now. I'm going. Got
Okay,
3 more minutes.
give us one final tidbit, and then you can go.
So the biggest question is, what involvement will he have with transfers? How much money have we got? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So the first question is, senior source says all managers have input on transfers. That's the official quote, right? So he will have input.
Okay.
We know Tim Steiden has been removed from having complete control to an advisory role,
Yep.
and whichever way you like it, David Sullivan's back in the driving seat, having a veto on all.
Now, hold that thought a second, because like David Sullivan back in the driving seat doesn't mean
Yeah,
he's the one picking the players that are coming.
no, he doesn't. No, he'll listen to the scouts. He'll listen to I mean,
The
he said
head
Harry
coach.
Potter, Graham Potter, etc. But here's the problem, right? And one day I'm gonna come back and do a finance show because I know you love finances, and we did one once before. We haven't got any money still.
Oh, Sean.
We haven't got any money. Our
Sean.
bowl is empty. We haven't got any money. So look, we spent 110 million in the summer. It's in the accounts with another
Yeah, we got 100
10.5
million
million.
for Declan.
Right, but look, I'm going to say this and not bore people about finance. We spent 120 million in the summer. We forward borrowed all the money, right? So all the clubs that owe us money, including Arsenal, for Declan. We sold that debt, 69 million pounds of debt owed by other clubs. We sold that for 64 million, cost us 5 million in interest.
Why did we do that? For cash flow?
Cash flow. Cash flow.
Okay.
We borrowed another 45 or 55, I can't remember, from Barclays Bank. Right? Cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. So this headline figure of a 57 million pound in profit is somewhat fake. We've got a problem with cash flow. And therefore, the likelihood is, and I know your listeners don't want to, viewers don't want to hear this. Mostly, we've got a sell to buy, loans, freebies, maybe the odd gamble. If you hear of 20, 30, 40 million pound players,
It's not happening.
you're going to go, where's the money coming from? Where's the money
Okay.
coming? Unless
let me-
Kudos is sold, unless a big name is sold, we just don't have, there is no defined budget for January.
Okay. That means we're going into the loan market. Almost
Probably.
definitely.
And we haven't got any domestic loans at the moment, obviously.
Okay.
Or you could sell,
Marcus
a
Rashford.
or
Can we knock that one on the head? Or is
how
it?
much is he?
Well, I'm talking about him coming on loan, but he's on 300 grand a week.
Yeah, no. We and wages going back to finances are at 160 million.
Okay.
We're not taking on a player at 300
Even
grand a
if
week.
Man United pay a portion of his salary.
If they paid 2/3 of it, maybe.
That's what I said earlier. Evan Ferguson from Brighton.
See, I haven't followed much of it. How much will he cost?
Well, again, another
He's a
loan
20-year-old, isn't he? He's a youngster.
Yeah.
I did ask about this guy, and my senior source said they won't let him go to the last few days of the transfer window.
And that's the last thing we want to do, is to wait right to the last minute.
And so it would have to be a late bid, maybe a loan, because I don't think they want to let him go. So that's a possible. There is interest there.
Is there any other interest that seems to be fairly more solid at this moment in time?
I've not heard of any, and if I'm honest, I haven't asked. I've been so wrapped up in the head coach replacement. I haven't got involved because I know we haven't got any money. I haven't been invested in the transfer nonsense this year. I'm sure I will do now. Before Potter was appointed, there seemed to be no point, no disrespect.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It just
I think as from Monday,
speculating of someone that was about to leave. Now we've got Potter in. I'm going to probably ask more questions. Maybe we do a transfer show, Stelly.
Well, let's do that, because I want to. I would like you to ask your senior source if anyone is likely to be leaving. Have we got our eye on any players leaving the club, whether on loan or to be sold?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there is always the standard quote: "We're going to move on some fringe players. Some fringe players might leave." It's hard to define exactly what the fringe players are because they can change day by day.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Sola, Todibo is obviously, I think he's still back in France.
Yeah.
Is he injured? Could he possibly looking for a move? We just don't know. I mean,
Rodriguez?
let's let the new manager, head coach settle, and ask me again next week.
I'll ask you on Monday.
Good.
Well, thank you for coming on. Congratulations on your wedding.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
And your suntan. And I'm sure we'll chat tomorrow.
Yeah. Cheers, Dale.
Yeah, Sean. Thank you.
Bye, Dodsey. Bye, Dodsey.
Right, there you have it. Any more information that you didn't already know about? Anyway, let's get to your comments. Trodge, Rashford will go, same as Lingard if he does well for us. I totally expect that, to be quite honest with you. John, Blimey, Stell, you sound... I do. I think a lot of us feel rejuvenated at this moment in time, don't we? It feels like a new lease of life at the moment. Toha, Sullivan told Potter, you must bring in some eye candy for HH. There you go, Hammerette. Is that good enough for you? Boo to Whetstone. Just Mac, Rashford's disrespect with the gloves did it for me. No place for him here. Make West Ham great again. Is West Ham great again? Well, I'm soon going to find out, aren't we, under Potter? Grotty senior source cohorts out. Huge. No team can afford Rashford's wages. Definitely not AC Milan. Manure will have to subsidise. I totally agree with you there. Amaret just seen possibly Benny to Ipswich, Benrahma to Ipswich. That's possible because they've got money problems. The club he went to, Leon. Have they even paid us? No, they haven't. No, they haven't. That's a good point. Barry, slightly worried about the Sullivan and Brady mind games, especially Brady. Still hope he does well. Yvonne number one. Good evening to you. With you all the way with a dynamic front man rather than Ferguson. 2-1 cup win would be lovely. Wouldn't it be lovely indeed? Matthew, surely Rashford just goes to Saudi. Good point. Where he can continue to swagger around doing nothing much on the same money. Very good point. John, will Sullivan have his hands up? Peter, Man United would have to pay 2/3 of his wages. Absolutely. Poor woman. Congratulations from Warren, Ronnie. Stooge out. He got married for extra insider info. That was IPA. John, you said that looked like whatever it was. That was a very nice IPA, mate. Very nice. Richard. Evening to you, mates. On Potter's records in Sweden, Swansea, Brighton, it isn't too shabby. It didn't happen at Chelsea as they were a basket case, trying to keep all those egos happy on the bench. Hey, good point. Good point. I think my problem with Potter when he was at Brighton is Brighton, since Potter, have had De Zerbi and the current manager, whose name I can never remember, for what Hertzler, and they've actually done better than Potter, to be honest with you. And that's why I'm kind of worried. But look, I'm more than willing to give Potter a chance. I want to see what he can do with this squad, because I feel, and I said this the other day, that most decent managers will be able to get more out of this squad than Lopetegui did. Matthew, media are awful. They blame the club for the leak when they love nothing more than a leak. You are so correct in that. Leon, Potter's problem at Chelsea was that they had enough players for 3 teams like a conveyor belt. That is a good point. Toho, never thought I'd see Stel being better at pronouncing names than someone else. Do you know what? I've really practiced. I'm not kidding, mate. I hate it when I mispronounce things. You know, I've always prided myself in being able to pronounce things. And then as I get older, is it some kind of dementia or something that, you know, all of a sudden I can't pronounce names? I hate that. Hammer time. Do managers really care if they get sacked, knowing that they're going to get a big payoff? Yeah, good point. Good point. You know, they walk into the sunset, flashing that cash. Finn, good evening to you. Sully's Grotty cohort live on YouTube. Me or Sean? Sure. Just Matt, do you think we will raid Chelsea? Apparently, we're linked to 3 players. Well, you've just heard it from Sean. We're not going to buy anyone. We don't have any domestic players here on loan. So there is an option. Do you remember I said some weeks ago, oh, we've got enough domestic, we've got enough loan players, we can't get any more? Clearly I was wrong, because every time I kept hearing is you can't have more than 4 players on loan. It's you can't have more than 4 domestic players on loan. But every time you go and read the FA rule book, it doesn't make that clear. It just seems to suggest you just can't have 4 players on loan. Toha, I wanted Dewsbury Hall in the summer. And look, I think he's wasted. I mean, what did they pay for him? They paid a hefty fee for him in the summer, and they're using him primarily in the Europa Conference League, you know, and as substitutes and stuff like that. I'd have him at West Ham on loan to buy maybe. Finn, is it true Lopetegui refused to leave the training ground because Antonio was going to drive him to the airport? Funky T, the average length of time for a Premiership manager is 2 years and 4 days. There you go. Chelsea have the rosy record with a stage of 17 months. Who else have we got here? Bill, why can't Potter make top 6 if backed? Absolutely. Why not? Let's see. Mr. Dodsey, Oompa Loompa is on where is Willy Wonks? I'll see you tomorrow, Dod. I'm sure I will see you at some point tomorrow. Matthew, we need to create some songs. What rhymes with Potter? Jotter, trotter, rotter. Great. James, Tim is in the videos at the training. He was. I think what Sean was alluding to is all the media stuff, you know, sort of. If you remember when Lopetegui arrived, Steidem was sitting next to him when he did his first press conference and stuff like that. Steidem was nowhere to be seen in this one. So yes, you're absolutely correct that he was in the early part of the videos. Dodsey, he was in the, he was, but not in the latter stages. Howard, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Neil, our stats on retaining managers was better up to when John Lyle was shafted. Since then, we've hemorrhaged managers. Yeah, we prided ourselves, didn't we, in having managers that were here for the long term. Finn, what did you think of Simon Jordan's comments about you on TalkSport? Damn it, I wish I'd seen that while he was still on. Could have asked him that. Dodsey, it makes no sense to have a manager in place for 5 days, taking training when we know he's going to be sacked. Sean, but this is what the club do. Cockney, good evening to you, mate. I saw Tim in the video. He was showing Potter around and introducing him to everyone. You're all correct in that. Rico, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Moyes in. Are you getting him? Have you won your game? I know you were 1-0 up, Rico. And how do you feel? Tell me how you feel about Deitch having been dismissed today. And who do you honestly think is coming in? Carpy, Ashworth offers nothing. The scouts are the main guys we need. That's a really good point. Ashworth is out of work, which is probably why Sean is suggesting we might go for him. Kim, that's not happening. What's not happening? Ashworth, it's not happening. It's bullshit. Kim Joe, he doesn't know. He doesn't even scout people. He's built clubs. What are you on about? Well, he is apparently, he is credited with bringing in a number of players. But I don't know. You're probably more correct that it's the scouts beneath him that have done that. Kenny, we can see us getting Cucurella and Caicedo as Potter brought them to Brighton. They will cost a hefty price. So I don't know, to be quite honest with you, if that would honestly happen. It's me, Sam. Newcastle paid 2 to 3 million for Dan Ashworth. Thank you for that. Well, we are now. We're back to talking football. Huge. Dan Ashworth was recommending Gareth Southgate for the manure job. That's what cost him his job. Good grief. Did he really? Let's not have him. Leon, Jordan hates Sullivan. Said dealing with him was like nailing a block of jelly to a wall. Matthew, on Graham Potter, he hates Rodney Trotter because he's a Millwall. Insert your own syllable noun. That's not working, mate. Trodge. Macaulay can bring us a USB stick with all the Chelsea scouting with him. Well worth the cash. Macaulay, I'm surprised Sean doesn't think that we would go for him. Sean, the poisoned dwarf, the other Sean, that was the Sean that you all like. The poisoned dwarf has never left the driving seat. Dave, well, I'm glad he actually cleared up. I kind of said that the story was twisted about Sullivan taking complete control of transfers. It isn't complete control of transfers. He doesn't know what's needed. And it's also good to hear that Potter is going to have a say in the kind of players that he wants. That's the way it should have always been done, to be quite honest with you. You can have a technical director, could help identify with his scouting network, can help identify the players that we want to go for. But then it's got to be in tandem with. You can't just have a technical director going off and buying his own players who may or may not fit a system. So I'm glad to hear confirmation that Potter is going to have an input into the players that we should be getting. Dave, right players, wrong manager. The right manager will have these players singing like a choir. Daz, West Ham have got loads of money. Seems not, according to Sean. Keith, anyone remember Michael Benteen's potty time? Mr. Osborne, record profits last season, and Brady got £100,000 pay rise, and we're skint. Mike, same tune from Sean, different day. I know a lot of you disagree with him. Sam, but we weren't really spending during our European campaigns. Now you got me thinking. I think we might have been. Ronnie, are Dan Ashworth's Man United buys? Are Dan Ashworth's Man United pearls that he bought? No, I did the show this morning and I suggested that most of the players they spent over £200 million in the transfer market and not did well. However, if you look at Newcastle, the players that came in then, Gordon, Isaac, etc., a lot of good purchases there. Neil, How could Tim have had full control of transfers when Sullivan claimed glory for Somerville? I don't think he claimed glory. I think he was approached by an agent about Somerville, and then he handed it over for Steiden to complete. Let's scroll down. Oops, what happened there? What else have we got? Matthew. Can we recall a Gerd? I really think we've never seen his best in claret and blue. If you watch the show I did this morning, I've talked about, was it this morning or the other? Actually, that one was the other day. I suggested that maybe we should be looking at bringing back some of our loan players. I don't know what the loan agreements are, though. Sometimes they might be tied in and we have no choice but to keep them there until the end of the season. Kimbo, well, this has cheered me up. Cheers, Sean. Harry, Kieran Tierney would be a good fit from Arsenal if we can hijack his return to Celtic. I think he wants to go back to Celtic, doesn't he? Mike, Bugger going on this no change, then still stuck in the mucky stuff. Bugger going on this no change, then still stuck in the mucky stuff. I didn't understand that. I'm sure it meant something when you wrote that, but sorry, you've lost me. I'm sorry, Mike. Cockney, this bloke talks like he's an insider. Who is he? Well, that's Sean Whetstone. He does more than just a podcast, and he knows a certain individual at West Ham United, as he calls him, the senior source. And he gets a lot of information. He gets a lot of detail. And some of them say that he's a mouthpiece for the board. Others say he's like he's a bit like X. X is someone we don't know. Sean, you know him. If you listen to more than just the podcast, follow his Twitter account, West Ham. What is it? Well, he's got a Twitter account as well. And he knows a lot of stuff. He knows a lot of information. I don't think it's really quite interesting because X and Sean share information. They get the same info. But people seem to be okay when X tells us about details, but seem to be not so okay when Sean does. Maybe it's in the delivery. Who knows? John, does anyone know who this senior source is? You know damn well who it is. Fred, Sullivan will let everyone have an input, then do what he wants. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the transfer window during January. He thinks he's Sullivan mouthpiece, just a guesser. To be honest with you, Sean, he does get him. I've seen the details. He does get legit info. Mark, making up goes along. He'll have a different view next week, no doubt. Good evening to you, Clive. I hope you're well. Thursday, I know, because it's been a weird week, hasn't it? I haven't even done a proper West Ham Weekly this week. And then I thought, I've been busy today. I had my daughter's, I was dog sitting. Don't get dogs, by the way. Cats. I knew why I always like cats over dogs. She needed someone to dog sit her dog today. I was working from home and I went, sure. Fuck me. They shit and piss everywhere, don't they? They shit and piss. My partner even took it out for a walk. Did it have a shit and a piss when she took it out for a walk? No. Came back 5 minutes later. It had another shit and a piss in the corner. Don't get dogs. Get cats. Because you can let cats out. They'll be out all night. Doing what they do. Come back. Oh, feed me. I'll lie on your lap if you feed me and all that shit. Dogs, needy little fuckers. Don't get dogs. So anyway, that's a long answer to your question, why Thursday night. I was meant to do a pre-recorded on a preview on the game tomorrow. And as the day wore on, I couldn't. Every time I was sat down to do something, the dog was there. Oh, love me. Someone's got to love me. So I had to stop and then work and look after him and clear her shit up, and all that sort of stuff. So I thought, well, why not go on live? You wanted to know all that, didn't you, Clive? Who else have we got here? Sean, Ipswich just signed Philogene. Would they want Benny to... Why would they want Benny... They've just signed Philogene. Wow. Something's going on there. They only bought him in the summer and he's gone already. Wow. Ted, where was you last night, Happy? You let us all down. Yeah, she's like that. Evening, Elbow. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Steve. How are you? Howard, Stell, you're known as on YouTube as the Butcher. You need to tell me why. Why am I known as... Oh, the way I pronounce names. Steve, what about Rob Dorset on Sky yesterday saying that Moyes won us our first European trophy? No, he didn't. We won it in 65. Of course we did. Clive. Oops, I had the wrong jacket on. Got to have my spanner. Eamon, they paid 30 million for Hall, I read. Who paid 30 million for Hall? Paul. Potter can speak English. He will get his tactics across much better. Trodge, press conference I will be able to watch again. I stopped at J-Lo, just waffled and repeated himself. Now we can watch press conferences because they'll make sense. And Potter came across really well today, I must admit. Max, looking forward to Potter. I believe he will be a good manager who at Chelsea was scared to play the youth. Well, he's got an opportunity now, hasn't he? Funky T, still, do you think Potter will bring our players out on loan? It's only if he can. Only if he can. That's the problem. We don't know what the agreements are. Sometimes they're tied in for the whole season and you can't call them back. You know, it's a bit like Maxwell Cornet. He's tied in to Southampton for the whole season. And I know the new head coach of Southampton said, we're sending him back. Well, if the agreement is that he's there for the season, they can't send him back because it's all tied in with wages, who pays his wages and all that sort of stuff. Fred, give youngsters a proper go. Let's see what happens, maybe even in the Cup tomorrow night. Steve, I don't think Souček and Soufal will be in Potter's plans next season. I would be inclined to agree with you there. Daniel, this window is all about the big clearance, and to be honest, was always going to be. Yeah, good point. Well, not this particular window, but in the summer, I would imagine. Steve, to Trodge, I don't think they will be, especially Soufal's no longer well, Soufal is in the last 4 or 5 months of his contract. 5 months of his contract. I doubt very much he's going to be given a new one. The handsome Sean, I have met you. Should I upset the other Sean and say you're more handsome than him? Carpy. The manager always needs a say in Absolutely. Howard, I'd rather have Terry Hall, Dewsbury Hall, and Chumbawaka. Well, Chumwaka, or however you pronounce his name, there you go. I failed. I'm pronouncing it the way you spelt it, which is not spelt correctly, Howard. They would want about 40 million for him. It's a bit too much. You've heard Sean say, if you hear of any transfer deals that are quoting 20, 30, 40 million pounds, you can forget it. We can only get one player in on loan from any Premier League team. So it'll either be Dewsbury Hall, or Chimweka. Michael, do you think Potter would get a tune out of Cornet if he comes back? Just answered that. I'm not so sure Cornet would. Kenny, don't we have Kretinsky money? No, mate. That Kretinsky money's gone into the club. He is getting a nice little payout. I don't think we'll see any more Kretinsky money for a long, long time, if at all. Bill, watch the England DNA system. Ashworth introduced to the FA. Tells you what's Ashworth's role would be in the club. Sullivan wouldn't let that part go, in my opinion, because he helps shape the running of the club. Good point. Cockney, Somerville is like Benny, but with even less goals. I disagree. I think Somerville played properly will actually come good. Cockney, belated evening to you as well, mate. Potter highly rates Chilwell, so we can see him rocking up at the Bowl. That's another one, maybe. Good point. But that means we won't be looking at, Chilwell would cost us a lot of money, but if we get him on loan, it means that we can't go for their central midfielders. Zan, good evening to you. Darren Bent said we were interested in Rashford. He's on 350 a week. If we can move Ings, Paqueta, and Ward-Prowse, then we could afford his wages. He would look good alongside Kudus. There's no way we're going to pay that sort of money. And I'm afraid Darren Bent, I don't know where he gets his info from. I don't think that's a realistic target. Like I said earlier in the show, if Man United are willing to pay maybe 2/3 of his salary, then quite possibly. With regards to moving players on, Ings ain't going to leave. Absolutely no way. He'll see his contract out and then go away on a free and sign for anyone he wants in the summer. Paquetá, he's got his court case looming. Well, not court case, sorry. He's got his FA hearing looming in March, so no one's going to buy him. Ward-Prowse is already off the payroll because he's on a season-long loan at Nottingham Forest, so we're not paying his wages at this moment in time. I kind of like Rashford. If he got his head straight, it would be a great signing for us, but I just can't see it happening. Howard, question. Is he the guy that Sully keeps in the wardrobe in the black latex dildo suit? I don't know. You're going to have to ask him that. Sean, dogs won't knock it over any picture frames. I don't care. I can go and buy a new picture frame. Wiping a dog's shit off the floor and their pee is not funny. Michael, do you think we'll start calling the London Stadium the Potter Bowl? I like that. Ted, mate, have you got a dog? Trust me. Who saw, what's it? Is it, what's the film called? Damn it, it's gone. It's gone, isn't it? There you go. I'm shit with remembering things. When they say, dag, you want a dag? I don't want a fucking dog. I'll tell you that for nothing. Keith, cats rule, dogs rule. There you go. Thank you. Leon, you train dogs, cats don't give. That's why I love them, Leon. That's why I love them. Why would you want this dog that does anything? No, cats. You know, what do you want to do? You want to go out for the day? I ain't going to worry about that, mate. Off you trot. Come back when you want. Neil, yeah, cats go out shitting and pissing in other people's gardens. There you go. Who gives? Well, that's not my problem, is it? Mike, Stell, get off your chest about her dog. Look, I love her dog. It's a lovely dog. It's a lovely dog, but I ain't gonna be, Dad, can you look after that? No, darling, I'm in the office. Dog's man's best friend, my ass. Cats don't tell the police where you hide your Philip. Yeah, I had to put subtitles on when Loppy spoke pre-match and post-match. Not kidding. Wow, who doesn't? Look, by the way, I've got 300 people watching. If it's the first time you've come across the West Ham Voice, please do consider becoming a subscriber. It costs absolutely nothing to subscribe. All the content is free. And even more importantly, or equally as importantly, please do hit the like button. Because when you hit the like button, it elevates the channel on YouTube and more people start watching and all that sort of stuff. So please do become a subscriber and hit the like button as well. Colin, good evening, mate. I'm not sure Potter signed because he has been guaranteed at least for new players to come in. I think he would have been told quite categorically what's happening in the transfer window. So he'll know the score, and if he's been promised players, and I'm sure we'll get players, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Elbow, got your spare teeth in tonight still? They're real, but sometimes they don't feel like they are. Who else have we got? Sean. Anything by Cat Stevens? Howard. It's just all with the Greek playing in Stell's household. Kenny, someone on Holly or Gonzo's chat said that we could get Rashford for £87,000. They must have been taking Keith's drugs at the time, Kenny. That is highly, highly unlikely. And the only way is if Man United agree to pay 2/3 or more of his current wages. Otherwise, there's no way he's coming for 87 grand a week. Lee, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Who else have we got here? Vedakis, Bolagala, Diganis. Brad Pitt, that's the one. Snatch, that's the one. Thank you. I knew you'd know. Brad Pitt was the one that said, got any dags? You want a dag? Fetakis, how are you, mate? Kalispera to you. Looking forward to tomorrow night now. We are all looking forward to the right, mate. I like dags. That's the one. Ted, no, I only like fish still. No dogs or cats. Yeah, fair play. They're even less. Oh, no, you got to look after fish, haven't you? You got to feed them at the right time. They've got to be in the right temperature. Oh, what's all that about? Get a cat, mate. Get a cat. He'll eat your fish, and then he'll go out for the day, and you won't have to worry about him until he comes back and wants to eat. Cockney, cat's low maintenance. Just wish my missus was too. Good evening, old man. How are you? Bill, normally listen to the shows walking my granddaughter's dog. Will only shit outside someone's gate. I carry more cleaning gear than Trigger. Matthew, BG's, Potter's the man. Potter. Oh, you're getting better there, Matthew. Don't give up your day job, though. Leon, oops, where did that go? Leon, cat next door stares through our upstairs window at the missus getting dressed in the morning. I love the way this has gone tonight. This is meant to be a serious show, serious channel. Colin, I believe Potter will use the younger players at the club and also get the best out of Somerville and Guilherme. Hopefully, Guilherme. You know, we might not need to go into the transfer market. This, I still do think we need a striker, and I still do think we need a box-to-box midfielder and another central defender. Purely because but then. As you say, Colin, maybe you'll get the best out of Somerville, Guilherme, and some of the other younger players in the, some of the academy players as well. Darren, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. What do you think the score will be tomorrow? Did you see the training video? They seemed to... Well, no, the training video was really interesting. They looked like they were a lot faster, when they were doing their training. Oh, here's a clue for tomorrow night. If you've watched the video, the training video, there were 3 players just doing shots. No, not shots. There were 3 players doing shooting practice, and they were Somerville, Kudus, and Fulkrug. They will be our front 3 tomorrow. That you wait and see. They will be in that starting lineup as our front 3. They did seem a lot happier. Absolutely, they did. And the score tomorrow, I said this earlier on, Darren, I think it's going to go to penalties, and we'll win on penalties. Jayesh, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I'm not down the bottom, am I? Oh, no, I'm not. West Ham, Aston Villa on, I don't know. I will be in the freezing cold. Just think of me and my mates and 6,000 other fans in freezing cold, -7. If it's a shit game, boy, am I going to do a post-match moan. Philip, Potter has already said he's not expecting any incomings this window. There you go. ITV, apparently. Who said ITV? It was on ITVX, apparently. So there's the channel that it's on tomorrow, mate. Neil, great whites are fish. They are. Trudge, take Garnacho on loan off them instead. He's got to be on about 150 grand a week or something, isn't he? Colin, I believe we will win tomorrow night 3-1. David, I tell you what, give me your predictions, score predictions for tomorrow. David, Graham Redknapp or Harry Potter? Who's the best? Keith, Stell, we've just rescued 2 kittens, taking our rescue cats tally to 11. Don't tell the missus. We've got 3 rescue cats. 3 too many. 2 too many. I'll have 1. 3. Who else we got? Darren, Fulkrug looks a hell of a lot happier on the training video as well. Yeah, he looks fitter, leaner. Mancunian Hammer, good evening to you. Stell, would you take Prime, Andrea Pirlo, or Michael Pirlo all day, mate? Prime Pirlo all day. All day. Absolutely. Apache, I'm going to miss these shows when Stell leaves YouTube to go and run the Dogs Trust. Kenny, take Mbuemo or Wissa from Brentford. We'll do it. I agree with you there. Totally. In the summertime, they're the sort of players that we should be looking for, without a doubt. So your predictions for tomorrow. Ted, I did 3-1 to West Ham. Leon reckons 2-2, a win on penalties. Kimbo, 2-1 to West Ham. We need a new keeper. Well, no, if you watched the show earlier on, oh God, I didn't say that, did I? My apologies. The reason why I think Areola will go back to being our Premier League keeper is because what Potter does, he has 3 centre-backs, but he uses the goalie almost, oh no, I did say it, almost as another centre-back in the 18-yard box. And I think on the ball, Areola is going to be more comfortable doing that than Fabianski will be. Mike, 1-1, but then penalties. Who wins on penalties? Darren, 3-1, Kudus to score. First goal, he seems to be beaming as well. Don't hold your... Oh, you let us down, Anthony. Jason, still, long story, but I'm going. We'll be in the Villa end. If I see you, make sure to say hello. I'll wave to you whilst the Villa fans say hello to you as well. Jason, seriously, mate, if you do see me, do come over and say hello. Funky T. Villa, West Ham, 2-1 to West Ham. 4-0 to Morrow Howard. C, 1-0, Soufal's Arsenal. Wouldn't it be nice if Soufal scored a goal, hey? Wouldn't it be nice? Toha, I'd be happy with 1-1 and a win on penalties. Then we get Liverpool away. Of course we will. Of course we will. Michael, do you think all the players who have wanted to leave might change their minds now? Let's see what happens. Because a lot of talk about players wanting to leave is not really true. But I totally agree with you. Maybe a lot of players we're going to go see now. Let's see what happens under Potter. Paul, 1-2, manager bounce to West Ham. Sean, dose of reality, hoping not. Come on, mate. Jeff, there's a cat near me that only has one eye. I can't tell if he's walking backwards or forwards. Poor little bastard. Darren, Daniela, Stel, we West Ham fans cannot be sires. Cannot be sires? You need to explain that. Sorry. Darren, Stelios, would you take Prime Maldini or Roberto Baggio? Oh, you're pushing me here. I mean, if you gave me two players who played in the same position, I'd then be able, it'd be easier. Oh, Maldini, I think. He was just a brilliant defender, wasn't he? But Baggio was great too. Daniela, 2-1 to West Ham. Leon, I don't either, but don't care how we win. I don't care how we win either. Michael, agree with you, Stel. We will win on penalties. Hammerit, I will be happy just to see the lads step out on the pitch with a smile on their faces. Kenny, I'm going 2-1, but hope some youngsters will play. Mojo, aren't Villa playing in black tomorrow? Yes, it's a commemorative kit, anniversary ceremony at their stadium before they're wearing that as part of their kit. So we'll be wearing that white kit, won't we? That creamy kit. Peter, 1-1, lose on penalties. That's the time the Cats get it. Fatakis, 3-2 to West Ham, last minute winner. Mark, he's already brought the excitement back already. If we're bouncing, what must the players feel? That's a really good point. It feels, no, this show has been it doesn't feel heavy to do it, does it? I wonder what we'll all be thinking Friday night, Saturday morning. Is Duran banned? He is indeed, but it's all right. They've only got Ollie Watkins instead. So they'll be shit, won't they? Mark, Potter has already brought the excitement back. If we're back, read that already. David, Antonio can also contribute tomorrow night by driving the team coach. Darren, will you be doing a show after? I will indeed, mate. I will indeed. We'll do it. It'll be a sort of a walk along sort of thing. Wiggy, I'm sure, will be wearing one of his silly shirts, and Paul Williams will be with us as well, and a few others too. So absolutely will be. Kenny, do you reckon Caliste will play now he has signed a pro contract? No, not yet, but it's great. I mean, I really haven't caught up with all the other West Ham news. It's been overshadowed, hasn't it? So I promise you, I will. Well, I'll do a West Ham weekly on Monday, and I will catch up with all the news that has happened over the last week or so. Mark, Areola's a weak link. He could cost us tomorrow on his current form. Hope he wakes up now. Well, I'm sure you've heard that Areola also fell out with Lopetegui. And what did I say about goalies? You need to encourage them. You need to sort of be behind them, because a goalie thrives on, it needs to be encouraged. You put a goalie down or you drop him, as Lopetegui did, and their confidence just drops. And that's what happened with Areola. I'm expecting to see a very different Areola, a very different Kudus, players who have fallen out with Lopetegui. Duran is banned. Yes, he is. Neil, I would rather they were wearing a kit than a smile. No, I think Hammeret wants to see them just wearing a smile, some of the players, don't you, Hammeret? What else we got? Darren, is it true that we have been offered Davids and Rashford would love us to get Davids? Which Davids? Rashford, Davids, who? You need to explain to me who you mean. Could this be a chance for Luzal? Really good question there, Kenny. That's a really good question. Quite possibly. Could be a chance for quite a few of our young players. A really good question, that. That's it, people. I will be off to Villa tomorrow. Yes, I will do some kind of show after the match. I don't know when, so you're going to have to wait up for it if it goes to extra time. So look out for that. And thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you to my guest, Sean. I know not a lot of you like him. He's still a West Ham fan after all. So come on. Thank you all for commenting. Please hit the like button and please become a subscriber of the channel. I'll see you all very soon after the game against Aston Villa. Have a good evening and have a good Friday.